before I start this video is I found it so hard to rank these timelines. I've been going back and forth for a while now, but I think this is something that changes from time to time. But right now I believe I've got down my ranking of every Halloween timeline. So without further ado, number 5 is going to be Season of the Witch. This definitely does not mean that I dislike this film. I love Halloween 3. The reason that this has gotten number 5 is because with it just being one film and it being nothing to do with Michael Myers, is because with this being just one film, I find it hard to be invested in it and compared to all the other timelines, truly care about the plot as much and what's going to go on. As far as a timeline's concerned, obviously we can only judge the one film, and it kind of just is what it is. It's the film that we got, a great film, but there's no real direction or things that could really be critiqued in terms of a timeline. So for that reason, I'm going to put it right at the bottom, but still a great film. I enjoy watching it a lot. At number 4, I've got the Rob Zombie timeline. One thing I can say and slightly appreciate about Rob Zombie is that the 2 movies that he did get for this franchise, he really did make them his own. I can respect that he didn't go the same old route, and I can definitely appreciate the 2 very graphic, brutal slasher films that we did get from him. I personally enjoyed the first one a lot more than the second, but while I do think that they're very good, fun slasher films, the reason it can never really rank any higher for me is because it just doesn't feel like it belongs to the Halloween universe. In terms of Michael and the story that we get, I feel like it just goes so far off track. And these 2 films break so many rules that I feel like were put in place to keep Michael as scary as he was and is in the older movies. For example, him being completely explained. He speaks in it, and then we see him without the mask way more than I'd have liked to. But as I said, looking at them from a slasher point of view, I think they're 2 great slasher films, and Michael is scary in it, which is great. At number 3, I've got the Laurie Strode Halloween H2O timeline. While this film has 3 of my top 5 Halloween films of all time, if I'm to honestly rank this entire timeline from beginning to end, I think they undo what was the best ending to the Halloween franchise we would have gotten with the end of H2O. That's just my opinion. But then to make it worse, the film that added on to this timeline, being Halloween Resurrection and the way that was dealt with, just completely undoes everything for me and makes this timeline so unsatisfying, so unfulfilling. But for me, the fact that Halloween 1, 2 and H2O is in there are kind of the saving graces, and it's the reason that I've ranked it above the ones that are before it. At number 2, I've got the David Gordon Green timeline. I have absolutely no real major issue with this timeline right up until Halloween Ends. The way I see it is, up until Halloween Ends, we had 3 great films that remain respectful to the shape, obviously including the original, followed by 2018, which I feel like is a very well-made Halloween film. I love the way Michael looks, the way he moves. There are some great moments in 2018 where it really does feel like Michael's back, the proper Michael. And then we got an incredibly fun film in Halloween Kills, where it was just balls to the wall, kills everywhere. A really good action-packed slasher film with, a bit more of a weaker plot point, but considering it's part of a trilogy, I think had the ending to the trilogy be better, this film in the middle of that would have been okay. To be honest, the only reason this doesn't rank number 1 for me is the ending that we got. And so with that being said, moving on to number 1, very surprising, possibly if you've watched my film rankings where I just rank the films, because number 1 is the Thorn timeline. I addressed my disliking to the Thorn cult being introduced into the Halloween franchise. But the reason that this timeline is my favourite is because it feels like we get a long Michael story with the years that pass through the movies. When you look at that timeline start to finish, it's a long chain of events that involves lots of different new characters that I enjoy. Obviously the introduction of Jamie Lloyd, one of my favourite characters in the entire franchise. And up until number 4, I really can't fault it, to be honest. I really did enjoy these films. Number 5 and 6 is where I have more of my issues with this timeline. I think Jamie being in number 5 saved it for me a little bit. Obviously Loomis is there, even though he does feel like he's different than he was in number 4. Having Loomis in there and Jamie was still great. And I do think that's what gets me through Halloween 5. And as well as that, Halloween 6 had some pretty crazy things implemented in them with the baby and obviously Jamie being killed off right at the beginning. But as a new actress, someone that we don't really relate to, the little girl that was in Halloween 4 and 5, I just think it makes that death hit a lot less. However, Halloween 6, I think we get a very scary Michael Myers. We have some great kills, including that hospital massacre scene. So all in all, why it may feature films that I've ranked a lot lower than some of the films in the other timelines. As a whole, the Thorn timeline, considering the times the films were made as well, I enjoy watching them more. I enjoy watching the older versions of the films. So yeah, that's my ranking anyway. Obviously, it's just my opinion. I understand some people's opinions may be completely flipped to this. I understand some people's opinions may be slightly similar. You may have replaced 1 or 2 films. But that is what I'm going with for right now. This could change. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, and I'll